Good morning. Good morning, Raluca, Roxana. Can you see me? Can you hear me well? If you could please let me know. Good morning. Thank you. You know, some of you come regularly to these Wednesday morning meditations, but I will truly recommend you to spend even 5 minutes or 10 minutes every day seated and do if you cannot do more, just to do a very short meditation, but just the possibility to give yourself these 5 or 10 minutes and to sit in a place formally. Like it's wonderful to do a meditation when you are in the Uber, for example, or when you're walking on the street and you decide to take a little break and to look around. That is a wonderful thing to do. And I highly recommend you to practice these meditations anywhere. But beside that, to have a formal meditation, meaning to give yourself a very particular time that is only dedicated to meditation, I very highly recommend it. And it's very important to have a place to do that. Many people don't have it. You may have to do it in your room or in the living room. That's okay. But to have a little corner that it is somehow dedicated to meditation is very, extremely helpful. It can make a big difference in your practice. And one reason why it's so important to do this practice is because the mind is continuously moving, continually thinking, continually creating the world. We create the world through the mind. The world is not out there, the world is in the mind, in our experience. In our experience, the world is not there, the world is in our mind. We don't see the world out there. What we see is light reflected on something, and that something enters into our brain, and then we see the world in the back of our brain as an image. But I mean, this is nothing spiritual or anything. This is very scientific. This is how it is. We don't see the world. The eyes only pick up light. So what enters into our eyes is not like I'm seeing here, I see a closet, or I see a bed, or I see a light. What enters is the light itself. And then through a very complicated process, a very incredible, complex process, there is a lot of movement in the brain, and then at the very end, in the back of your brain, an image is created. But the image depends a lot on the brain, and depends a lot on the kind of brain that we have. Like the brain cannot pick, for example, cannot pick up ultraviolet. Or there are these two kinds of light, for example, that our brain doesn't pick up, which means that maybe there are other things that we don't know that our brain doesn't pick up. And anyway, this is a much longer talk, but it's very important to know that the world that we see is in our mind, is truly in our mind. And we can also experience the world like in a way before we create it, before it's transformed into a form and a name. That's the way we experience the world, through a word, through a name, and through a form. But the name and the form is created in the mind, which is very useful. It is wonderful. It is the way that we have to experience. It's the only way we have to experience. But what happens when we slow down the mind? What we'll do today is what I call the experience of the inner body. So we will experience our body, but not the way that we usually experience it. But we will experience the body as what it really is. And one name that we can give to that is the inner body. The outer body being our ideas, the name and the form that we have of the body. And just to give it a name, we will experience the inner body, which is prior to the name and the form that is created in the mind. And to help us do that, one way that we create the name and the form through the mind is through comparison. For example, we can say that this body is, I don't know, one word that comes now is old. But many people will say, no, you're not old. That's perfectly right. What does it mean that somebody can say the body is old, and somebody can say, no, it's not old at all? It just depends on comparison. If I'm thinking of young people, like people that are 20 or 30 years old, then I can say this body is old. But if I think of people that are 70 or 80, I can say this body is not old. But is the body old or not? It depends on what you compare it. It only depends on comparison. If you say a house is big, what does it mean that the house is big? It depends on that you compare it to other houses that are small. If you live in a neighborhood where most houses are one-room apartments, and there is a house that has a 3-room apartment, that has 3 rooms, then you will say that house is big. But if you live in a neighborhood where all the houses have at least 4 rooms, and you have a 3-room apartment, you will say your house is small. So what we're going to do in this meditation is we're going to not to use the comparisons. We're going to see something else. So for this meditation, I will recommend you to sit with your spine straight. Doesn't matter on the floor, on a cushion, or on a chair. Just try not to slouch. Don't sit comfortably, but not too comfortably. That's a teacher of mine used to say. Be comfortable, but not too comfortable. Extend the spine, open the chest, relax the shoulders. Soften your face. Please close your eyes. Put your hands in a comfortable place. They can be on top of your knees. They can be on your lap. I generally put them on my lap. Either one hand on top of the other one or across my fingers, and then I let my thumbs touch each other. Just stay with your eyes closed. And simply connect to this moment. Start to hear the sounds around you. Just hear the sounds. Start to notice your breathing. Connect to the breath. The air coming in, the air going out. Try to notice the beginning of a breath. And then try to follow through. You notice that there is a peak. You inhale, there is a peak of inhalation. And then at a certain point, you start to exhale. And then at a certain point, there is no more air, and you start with a new inhalation. There is a peak, and then the exhalation starts. Try to follow from the very beginning of the inhalation to the peak, and then to the end of the exhalation. Just try to follow that for a few seconds. The need to take a deeper breath may come. That's very good. Allow it to come. You don't have to change the breath in any way. Just try not to breathe with your mind, meaning don't think how you're supposed to breathe right now. For example, you may think, well, I should breathe deeper. So you take deeper breath, or I should breathe slower. Don't do that. Just simply notice how the breath happens in your body. Notice the beginning of a breath. Notice the peak of the inhalation. Notice the exhalation until the end of it. you will see that thoughts keep appearing in your mind. That's okay, that's no problem. It doesn't happen only to you, it happens to everybody. So just simply the moment you notice that you are lost in a thought, you bring the mind back into the moment. You know, this bringing the mind back into the moment, that by itself, that is a wonderful meditation. And when I was mentioning before that you can do every morning a 5-10 minute meditation or more, you can just do that. You can just notice the breath and see when you get lost in a thought, you bring the mind back. That by itself is a wonderful meditation. Just notice that when you're lost in a thought, you don't know it. And then the moment you notice it, that's the awakening. That is a very important moment. You notice, oh, I was lost in a thought. In that moment, you bring the attention back into the breath. Just do this for a few seconds. Just do this for a few more moments. Just follow the breath. From the beginning of the inhalation to the peak of it, and then the exhalation to the end of it. And then the next inhalation, and the next exhalation. And keep bringing the mind back into the breath. The thoughts are going to keep coming. Just when you notice, bring the attention back into the breath. Just notice the breath. Air coming in, the air going out. Now, as I said before, this by itself is just enough for a meditation. But today here we are going to continue with something else. I would like to start you to pay attention to the body. Just notice your body. And see how the image of your body appears in your mind. You're not really seeing a body because your eyes are closed. So the image that appears of your body is a memory. Just notice that you're not seeing the memory, you're seeing the image in your mind. But the image in your mind is not about this body right now, but it's about a body that you remember from the past. Just notice that. For example, just go into your feet and notice your feet. But how will you notice your feet? Because you're not seeing them. You have to go with your mind to your feet, but you're not seeing them. So if an image is created in your mind, that image does not refer to the experience of your feet right now, but it refers to your idea that you have about your feet. Try to discover that. This is so wonderful to see. Your feet are right there. You can feel them in your mind. You can experience them. But try to experience them without the image, because the image does not refer to them. It refers to the past. What do you see with your eyes closed? But what do you see right now? To try to put it into words, and that's not really important, but just for order for this meditation, we could say that we feel some kind of vibration, some kind of sensation. But this vibration sensation doesn't have a shape, doesn't have a form. Try to see your feet without using that image. I'm saying see in brackets. See in your experience, in your actual experience of this moment. What do you see in brackets? Notice what we call the legs. The moment I say the word legs, that word is associated with an image. That word is immediately associated with an image. But try not to go to that image, but go to the direct experience of this part of our body that we call the legs. What do you see there? Notice your hips, your glutes, your genital area. Again, an image is formed in our mind. And in the genital area, maybe a lot of information comes into our mind, a lot of ideas, a lot of complex ideas and memories or fears or situations. But that's all come from the past. It's not the actual experience of what is there now. Connect to the experience, the actual experience, the direct experience of what is there right now. It is a sensation, a vibration, an aliveness. These are just words. These words are not important, but it's something around that. Stay with that sensation, aliveness. Notice your tummy. Notice the area that we call the tummy. And try to experience it without remembering what you think or what you know about it. This area in our society also has a lot of connotations. But try to get away from that idea from our society. Try to experience like a baby will experience his own or her own body. The baby doesn't have this idea that I am like this or like that. The baby doesn't know. The baby just experiences without thinking about the experience. Notice your chest. Again, another area that is very, very manipulated by the society. But what is there truly right now? You can create an image of what is there. You can compare that image with many other images. But what about if you don't compare? What about if you don't go into the image, but you go into the what is really there right now? What is the real body right now? In our images, there is always right, there is always wrong, there is always good, there is always bad, there is always better, there is always worse. There is always all these thoughts that come with enormous amount of emotions. But what is actually there right now? It's not right, it's not wrong, it's not good, it's not bad, it's not better or worse. It just is. And what is perfect. Don't go into your thoughts. Stay in the experience. Notice your back. Notice the part that we call the back. And then drop the name. Try to drop the name. Notice the part that we call the arms and the hands and the fingers. And then drop the name and connect to it. What is really there. It's like a vibrating energy. Like an aliveness, like a vibrating aliveness. Like a light. Notice the area that we call the shoulders. But then drop the name. Notice the area that we call the neck. And now notice the area that we call the face. Another huge area. See the image that comes into your mind. The image with so much thought and so much ideas and so much beliefs and so much baggage behind this image. But try to see that this image has nothing to do with the face that appears in your experience right now. The image has to do with society, with news, with other people, with ideas of other people, with what they were taught to you when you were a kid, with what other people think. But see if you can, for a moment, drop that, even for a moment, even for a fraction of a second. Just drop that and notice your face. There is no shape. There is no form. There is only this warmth, this aliveness, this vibration. this light. Try to stay there. Try to experience your face. The inner face, the true face. Don't go back to the images. The images may come, that's okay, but try to return. Try to return to the actual experience of your face. This warm aliveness, this warm vibration. Notice what we call the head. Try to experience this unit, not as an image coming from the past, not as a thought, not as a form or a name, but as an actual experience. We could also call it the body of energy or the body of light. Come into the sensation of your true body right now. Feel this vibrating aliveness. It comes to me this beautiful vibrating aliveness. Just for a few more seconds, just notice this aliveness. Now, I'm just going to add one more thing. Notice that this vibrating aliveness is experienced in your awareness. Don't think much about it. Just simply notice that this aliveness, this vibration, this warmth, whatever is your experience of the body, it appears in our awareness. It appears in awareness. It appears in presence. Notice that your presence, awareness, presence is there. And this body of light, this body of vibration, it appears in this presence, in this awareness. Just see that awareness comes first. And then, in that awareness, in that presence, this body of light appears. Just for the last minute, come back to the sensations of the body. Not to the image, not to the ideas, not to the beliefs, but just to the actual sensation of the body. Feel it in all its glory, this beautiful sensation, vibration, aliveness, light. And just very slowly, allow more air to come in, more air to go out. Start to move your hands, start to move your arms, start to move your shoulders. When you're ready, open your eyes. Just move a little bit your shoulders, move a little bit your head, stretch your arms. I think this trip into the inner body is something so good to do once in a while. To remember that what is truly here, there is something else beside these ideas, these thoughts, these beliefs that we have about this body. These ideas come and go. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. There is always comparison, there is always problem, there is always trouble with all these ideas. But if we return to this body of light, there is only beauty. That's just one word that comes to me. I want to tell you also, there is a note that I wrote explaining this process in my blog. You can check Inner Body. And it's very much what we did in this meditation. But because it's written, it may help you to remember, and maybe you want to practice it. It's not so much to think about. The note, it can be useful to remind you what we did today, but it's really more about the experience than the thinking about the experience. But having said that, I do believe that the note may be helpful. If you have any comments or questions that you would like to do, please do write them in the live chat. If you enjoy the meditation, please give it a like. Just, I guess it's nice to see. I will wait for a few moments to see if there is any comments or questions appear. But as I said at the very beginning, and I'm going to keep saying it, I recommend you very much to practice, to do a daily meditation. It doesn't have to be long to do it. Just even say it to yourself. 5 minutes. I will sit in a chair for 5 minutes with my spine long. I will close my eyes and I will follow my breath. That's all. Do it as often as you can, daily, if you can. And the best time to do it, to me, is early in the morning, before all the turbulence of the mind appears. We will do sometime this very simple meditation, simply coming back into the breath. We will do that meditation also. I find it one of the most simpler and helpful and wonderful meditations to do. Simply bringing the mind back into the moment. Okay, so if there are no comments, I wish you a very nice day and appreciate that you're here with me. The meditation will remain in YouTube, so you can access it anytime you want to. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next Wednesday. Also, come to yoga class if you want to. Tomorrow we have a class, tomorrow evening, and also on Saturday morning. Thank you. Have a nice day. Ciao.